In this session, we are discussing all the chapters of part 1 of mathematics. Here, the first chapter is arithmetic progression. What actually the arithmetic progression is? The arithmetic progression is nothing but arrangement of numbers in which each term is obtained by adding a fixed number to the preceding term, except the first term. This is known as arithmetic progression. Here I have considered an example 2, 4, 6, 8. Here 2 is first term which is represented as A1, 4 is second term that is A2, 6 is A3, 8 is A4. Similarly, the next term is A5. The A5 can be obtained by adding the fixed number to the preceding term. That is nothing but by adding fixed number to the fourth term. You can check this example. Here, the fixed number 2 is added to the 2 so that we have got 4. Similarly, 2 is added to 4 so that we have got 6. Then 2 is again added to 6 so that I have got 8. So now the fifth term is obtained by adding 2 to the previous term. That is nothing but to the fourth term. An AP is generally represented as A, A plus D, A plus 2D, A plus 3D, A plus 4D, and it goes on. Here A is first term A1, A plus D is second term A2, A plus 2D is the third term that is A3, A plus 3D is fourth term that is A4, A plus 4D is fifth term that is A5. You can observe here for the A2 we have 1D, for A3 we have 2D, for the A4 we have 3D, for the A5 we have 4D. So A is common for all the terms, but there is a difference in the D. Whenever you have 2, you have 1D, whenever you have 3, you have 2D, whenever you have 4, you have 3D, whenever you have 5, you have 4D. Similarly, with this pattern, you can easily identify any term of an AP. You can write A10 as A plus 9D, A20 as A plus 19D, A100 as A plus 99D. Here A is first term, D is common difference. This common difference can also be called as fixed term, which can be obtained as D is equal to A2 minus A1. It can also be obtained by using formula A3 minus A2, similarly A10 minus A9, and also you can use A100 minus A99th term. N is number of terms in an AP. Nth term of an AP is given as An is equal to A plus n minus 1 into D. As already we have discussed, A is nothing but first term, N is nothing but number of terms, D is nothing but common difference. An is last term or else the nth term. Next we will discuss about sum of first n terms of an AP. Sum of first n terms of an AP is represented by Sn. Sn is equal to n by 2 into 2a plus n minus 1 into d. This formula can also be written as n by 2 into a plus an. Here Sn is nothing but sum of first n terms. Therefore, S1 is sum of one term, that is S1 is equal to A1. S2 is sum of first two terms, that is S2 is equal to A1 plus A2. Similarly, S3 is sum of first three terms, therefore S3 is A1 plus A2 plus A3. The last concept of this chapter is types of AP. The AP has been classified into two types. One is finite AP and second one is infinite AP. The finite AP is the one which is consisting of finite number of terms. For an example, 2, 4, 6, 8. Finite AP is always ends with the full stop. The next one is infinite AP. Infinite AP is the one which is consisting of infinite number of terms. For an example, 2, 4, 6, 8 dash dash dash. This is called as infinite AP. Now we'll discuss the chapter similar triangles. Before we study about similar triangles, let us understand what are congruent triangles. The two triangles are said to be congruent if the corresponding angles are equal and corresponding sides are also equal. But when it comes to two similar triangles, the two triangles are said to be similar if the corresponding angles are equal and corresponding sides are in the same ratio or in proportion. Here, the area of congruent triangles are always equal, whereas the areas of similar triangles may or may not be equal. Let us consider the two triangles ABC and PQR. Here, angle A is equal to angle P, angle B is equal to angle Q, and angle C is equal to angle R. And also, AB divided by PQ is equal to BC divided by QR is equal to AC by PR. And hence, the two triangles are similar. Now, we will discuss about a very important theorem called as Thales theorem or basic proportionality theorem. Thales theorem states as if a line is drawn parallel to one side of a triangle to intersect the other two sides in distinct points, then the other two sides are divided in the same ratio. I'll make it very simpler. If we are drawing a line which is parallel to any one side of the triangle, then it divides other two sides proportionally. It means that in a triangle ABC, if DE is drawn parallel to BC, then it is dividing the other two sides, that is AB and AC, as proportional. That is nothing but AD by DB is equal to AE by EC. You can also read it in the simpler way as off by off is equal to off by off. That is AD by DB is equal to AE by EC. The next concept is converse Thales theorem. The converse Thales theorem states as if a line divides any two sides of a triangle in the same ratio, then the line is parallel to the third side. Here, in a triangle ABC, if AD by DB is equal to AE by EC, then we can write DE is parallel to BC by using converse Thales theorem. AAA criteria. According to this criteria, in two triangles, if corresponding angles are equal, then their corresponding sides will be in the same ratio and hence you can call those two triangles are similar. Here we have considered the two triangle ABC and PQR. Here angle A is equal to angle P, angle B is equal to angle Q, and angle C is equal to angle R. Then we can write it as AB by PQ is equal to BC by QR is equal to AC by PR, and hence the triangle ABC is similar to PQR. Similarly, we have one more criteria, SSS criteria. According to this criteria, in the two triangles, if sides of one triangle are proportional to the sides of the other triangle, then the corresponding angles will be equal and we can call those two triangles as similar. Here, in the triangle ABC and PQR, corresponding sides are proportional. AB by PQ is equal to BC by QR is equal to AC by PR, and hence angle A is equal to angle P, angle B is equal to angle Q, and angle C is equal to angle R, and hence the triangle ABC is similar to PQR. The next one is SAS criteria. According to this criteria, if one angle of a triangle is equal to one angle of the other triangle and the sides including these angles are proportional, then we can call those two triangles are similar. That is nothing but if A is equal to P and AB divided by PQ is equal to AC divided by PR, then we can call those two triangles are similar. Now we'll discuss about areas of two similar triangles. The ratio of areas of two similar triangles is equal to square of ratio of their corresponding sides. If two triangles ABC and PQR are similar, then we can write the ratio of area of ABC to the area of PQR is equal to AB square by PQ square is equal to BC square by QR square will be equal to AC square by PR square. Now we'll discuss a very important theorem called as Pythagoras theorem. The Pythagoras theorem states as in a right angle triangle the square of longest side is always equal to sum of squares of other two sides. Here let us consider a triangle ABC in which B angle is 90 degree. If B angle is 90 degree, according to the Pythagoras theorem, we can write it as AC square is equal to AB square plus BC square. Converse Pythagoras theorem. In a triangle, if squares of one side is equal to the sum of squares of other two sides, then angle opposite to the first side is always right angle. Again consider a triangle ABC. Here AC square is equal to AB square plus BC square, and therefore we can write the triangle ABC is a right angle triangle. Now we will discuss the next chapter, pair of linear equations in two variables. The pair of linear equations in two variables are generally represented as a1x plus b1y plus c1 is equal to 0 and a2x plus b2y plus c2 is equal to 0, where the coefficients a1, b1, c1, a2, b2, c2 are constants which can be real numbers. When the pair of linear equations are drawn in a graph, there are three different possibilities. As shown in the figure, the first possibility is the lines may intersect each other. They are called as intersecting lines. As shown in the second figure, the lines are parallel to each other. Therefore, they are called as parallel lines. And in the third figure, the one line is overlapping on the other line. That is why they are called as coincident lines. Here, without drawing the pair of linear equations on the graph, we can even identify the nature of linear equations. Have a close look on the table. If a1 by a2 is not equal to b1 by b2, then the lines are intersecting lines. These intersecting lines always have only one solution that can also be called as unique solution. If the pair of linear equations are having the solution, then they are called as consistent. That is why intersecting lines are also consistent. a1 by a2 is equal to b1 by b2 is equal to c1 by c2. These lines are coincident lines. Since they are coinciding on each other, the lines will be having infinite number of solutions. They can be called as consistent. In the third case, a1 by a2 is equal to b1 by b2 but not equal to c1 by c2. In such the case, the lines are parallel to each other and hence they does not have any solution. If pair of linear equation does not have any solutions, they are considered as inconsistent. The pair of linear equations can be solved in different methods. The first one is substitution method. In this method, we are obtaining either x or y from one equation and we are substituting that in the other equation to get the values of x and y. The second method is elimination method. In this method, we are making the coefficients of either x or y are equal. Then by subtracting or adding both the equations, either x or y can be obtained. And the third method is cross multiplication method. This can be solved by using the formula. Anyhow, for your syllabus, this is excluded. The next chapter is circles. You have already studied the basic concepts related to circles in the previous class. Definition of circles, radius, diameter, arc, segments, and the definitions of concentric and congruent circles. These are all the concepts you should know before get enter into this chapter. Now we'll discuss a concept called as tangent. The tangent is nothing but it's a line that intersects the circle at only one point. You can also define it as the tangent is a straight line which touches a circle at only one point. Here I have given some of the important points which are very much important for your examination. The first point is none of the tangent passes through a point lying inside the circle. It means that you can't draw a tangent if a point is inside the circle. Second point is there is only one tangent to a circle passes through a point lying on the circle. It means that if you want to draw a tangent to the circle, if the point is lying on the circle, then there will be only one tangent is possible to draw to that circle. The third point is there are exactly two tangents to a circle passes through a point lying outside the circle. If a point is present outside the circle, then you can draw only two tangents to that circle from that external point. Now we'll discuss about secant. Secant is a line that intersects the circle at 2 points. That is known as secant. Here we have two important theorems. The first one is the tangent at any point of a circle is perpendicular to the radius through the point of contact. It can be understood as the angle between the radius and tangent is always 90 degree. Next theorem is the lengths of tangents drawn from an external point to a circle are equal. Whenever the two tangents are drawn from an external point to the circle, then the lengths of that two tangents are always equal. Now we will discuss about coordinate geometry. Here you can see the graph. In that graph, the horizontal line x dash o x, we can call that as x-axis, and the vertical line y o y dash, that can be called as y-axis. The point where x-axis and y-axis intersect each other is called as origin, that we can represent by capital O. The x-axis and the y-axis divides the whole plane into four different quadrants as shown in the graph. Here, whenever a point is considered on the graph, the distance of a point from y-axis is called as x-coordinate, or it can also be called as abscissa. The distance of a point from x-axis is called as y-coordinate or ordinate. Let us consider the 2 points A x1, y1, B x2, y2. Now, the distance between these 2 points can be given by the formula distance d is equal to square root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. If either of A and B is origin, that is 0, 0, then d can be written as square root of x square plus y square. When a line AB is divided into 2 points by the point P x, y in the ratio m1 is to m2, then the point P x, y will be given by m1 x2 plus m2 x1 divided by m1 plus m2, m1 y2 plus m2 y1 divided by m1 plus m2. If the point P is exactly divided the line AB in the middle, then the formula changes to p x comma y is equal to x2 plus x1 divided by 2 comma y2 plus y1 divided by 2. If a triangle is formed by the 3 points, then the area of this triangle is given by of into x1 into y2 minus y3 plus x2 into y3 minus y1 plus x3 into y1 minus y2. Here, note down one important point. If the 3 points are collinear, then the area of triangle will be always 0. Since this chapter is based on similar triangles and circles, I don't discuss much about this chapter in this session. We'll discuss in detail about the problems based on this chapter in upcoming classes. For more videos, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.